Hey folks, welcome back to DCS. So, in my quest to be more proficient in multiplayer, I decided to hop on a server and fly solo for a bit because I think that sometimes when you're playing with other people, you're sort of trying to focus on too much stuff at once, and when you're still learning what to do, having other people talk to you just sort of takes you away from focusing on what you actually need to do, and I feel like it makes me less competent. So this is the first time that I'm going solo, and it's the first time I actually managed to kill anything. So I'm going to try and run you through the engagements. I am by no means good at this, but I'll try and draw your attention to what I'm looking at and that kind of thing. So down here on the left is our radar display. I'm on Growling Sidewinder server, and this thing is basically like WarThunder Arcade but DCS, and that's not to say that it's not sim-like, because it's obviously still DCS, but it's just a massive server that's like 60 players, like 30v30, and everyone just ends up in the same sort of place, just spamming missiles at each other. It's a pretty shit game environment, to be fair, but as a new player, there's so much going on that even like the good people probably struggle a bit if they get a bit too deep. So what I've done is circle around the side a bit so that I don't get any friendlies in my radar scan. If you look down on the right screen, then you can see that all the friendlies are off to my left, and up to the top right is like around where the enemy runway is. So I'm basically just singling out enemies that have focused their attention elsewhere. We've launched on this guy here at 21 miles. I'm currently at Mach 1.5 and 27,000 feet, so this is a pretty lethal missile. But we drop lock almost straight away, and there's a bug right now with AMRAMs where if you don't hold the lock until they go pitbull, which is when their own onboard radar kicks in, they basically go stupid and you're never going to hit anything. So that's a lost kill. If you notice on the radar screen, then above the target I'm trying to mark, it says DE22. Now that means that a member from another flight, basically other players, are attempting to lock him up, and I think it means the D and the E are the first and the last letters of the flight name, and the numbers are the 22. It means that it's the second aircraft of the second flight. So basically, if there's anything above the target name on the radar, then it means that it's being locked by someone else. So I've been trying to avoid locking people up that are being locked by other players, because it means that they're more likely to die before I can kill them. So we've managed to get this guy all on his own. He's at pretty close range. I'm above him, and I'm going a lot faster than he is. And there's no escaping that. So that's my first, I think anyway, my first confirmed player kill. There's honestly so much going on in this game that sometimes you're not even sure if you've killed a player or not. Like I killed 3 or 4 Mirages with Sidewinders on an 80s server, but I have no fucking idea if they were players or not, so I'm not counting them. The beauty for a noob of playing on this server is that they have those kill messages on, so you know it's a player or not because they have a name. But yeah, so right now we're up at over 40,000 feet, travelling at just over Mach 1. As you can see, there's a shitload of contacts on the radar again. Quite a lot of them are being locked by friendlies, so I'm trying to set my radar elevation to see as many of them as possible so I can just lock and launch on whichever one is least likely to die by someone else's hand. Just ditched the external tanks there so we can get our speed up a bit more. The thing with BVR engagements is that the higher and the faster that you are, the thinner the air is, and the further your missile can go as a result, because it adds its own speed to your launch speed. Thin air means less resistance. You know, it just makes sense. It's simple physics. So I've launched on this guy in the back there because no one else was tracking him, but there's this guy up front who has someone else looking at him, but he's getting quite worryingly close to me and he's turning hot on me right now. So I ditched the lock on the back guy to lock up this earlier guy, and I can see a missile trail out on him, and he actually gets shot down. So I trashed my own missile for basically no reason there, which annoyed me a little bit. Then I go to lock this guy up who's turning cold, because even though there's a friendly looking at him, there's no one locking him. So he's down there in that box, but then I see this contrail up ahead of me at some point soon. There it is. And this guy is Koal. He's making a beeline for me. I'm being locked by him. It's an F-15. This is an extremely dangerous threat, and this is when I start to just fumble with my radar controls. TWS is track while scan. You can basically lock up multiple different targets at once and flick between them easily if they're all solid red on the radar screen, but for some reason it's only locking the guy to my left and not the actual threat. I actually get launched on by that F-15 and a SAM, so I just bug the fuck out of there at that point. The F-16 is so tremendously fast that if you just turn around and run away, nothing will ever catch you. So we escape that engagement, and then when we're on the deck, I managed to come across this lonely F-14 that I don't even know what he was doing. He must be more of a noob than I am, because honestly I'm baffled that I actually managed to get this kill. But yeah, so Fox 3 out on him at 9 miles, which is incredibly short range for these missiles, but if he turns cold, it still won't likely catch him, and that's exactly what he does. If you look at our closure speed on that bar on the right, it's 250, 240, 180, 120. That's how quickly we're gaining on him, so the lower that figure is, the slower we're gaining.
Upper 3-1, checking in on 32.00.
So he's just trying to run for the hills, because if he can dip behind a mountain, it means he can break the radar lock and trash the missile. I'm actually outside of range for these missiles. If he keeps going in this aspect and this speed, he will actually outrun the missile. But I'm sort of too laser focused on chasing him down at this point to be paying much attention to any of that stuff. He's about to mask behind this hill, and I'm getting kind of paranoid here that I'll not find him again afterwards, because spotting specs in this game is so different and difficult compared to WarThunder. The planes are rendered in a much more realistic size, but he's quite easy to see against the snow, thank God. And because I lost the lock, I actually can't just reacquire it magically by pressing a button. I have to change radar mode, so that's a fumble with like 4 different commands to get into dogfight mode, switch my missiles to AMRAAMs again. We launch our last one out on him, so if this doesn't kill him, I have to run down much closer to him so that I can use sidewinders. But thankfully it splashes him, so that's a second player kill on an F-14. You'll notice that the radar had him marked as white instead of red once it was just me chasing him. That means he was off of the AWACS's radar, so there was no IFF telling me that he was enemy, but obviously I already knew that he was because he was red when I first picked him up. Right now, just landing. I like to include the landings because, you know, it's just that buttery smooth satisfaction of when you do it right. And right here I'm trying to see how fast I can get down, so I'm approaching it over Mach 1, getting in, just checking the bearing of the runway, and then I'm going to do a full turn with like no power and brakes on and just see how quickly I can bleed the speed off. Pulling maneuvers like this makes me get a better feel for how the jet handles in a turn fight, which I'm nowhere close to getting into one yet, but the more you throw the plane around, the more familiar you are with how it reacts. So I'm just watching the speed here, turning in, gear coming down. Lowering the gear actually changes the control sensitivity. There's much, so you can make finer adjustments much easier. But when you're trying to turn around fast with the gear down, it kind of makes it a bit of a pain in the ass. So learning the things like that, the little performance niggles, that's all in aid of doing this sort of stuff. But managed to pretty satisfactorily nail the AOA, I think, there. I mean, it's not perfect when I get down, but for the most part it is. And then we hold the nose up for some aerodynamic braking, using the wings as a big fat air brake, and then just let the nose fall naturally on its own. I'm full afterstick here. Nose falls at around 80 knots. And that's it, folks. So thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this, then be sure to sub for more. I will get better, and I hope that you'll follow me on that journey. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.